Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about generative AI, but I want you to forget everything you think you know about it being just a piece of tech. We're going to look at it as a new version of something ancient, a natural phenomenon that ties into the very fabric of reality itself.
So, let's just dive right in with a massive question. What on earth could connect the way an AI spits out a sentence to the way a protein folds itself into a perfect shape, or how an entire ecosystem finds its balance? We're going to frame AI as just one part of a much bigger story.
The key to seeing this deep connection, well, it all comes down to a powerful three-part toolkit, one that comes from physics and math. To really get it, we need to walk through a few key ideas that show how order emerges from total chaos, not just in AI, but everywhere in the universe.
All right, so here's our game plan for this journey. We're going to start with the big picture, this universal landscape where literally everything happens, and these islands of stability that everything is trying to reach. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of that three-part toolkit. And finally, we'll see how this completely reframes AI as nature's oldest trick. So, let's start with the landscape itself. Okay, first things first, we need to understand the environment, the playing field for all of this. This is probably the single most important idea we're going to talk about, the bedrock for everything else. It's a concept from physics called the energy landscape.
So, try to picture a massive, sprawling terrain. But it doesn't just have 3 dimensions, it has billions of them. Every single point on this terrain is a possible way a system could be arranged. And here's the kicker. Every system, whether it's a molecule or a massive AI model, has this natural tendency to move downhill on that terrain, always seeking out states of lower energy, always searching for stability.
And here's the wild part. This is not just a neat metaphor. This principle is absolutely universal. It explains how proteins find their shape, how your brain learns to spot patterns, how evolution weeds out the weak, and, you guessed it, how a large language model generates sentences that actually make sense. They are all just finding their way downhill. So, if every system is rolling downhill, what's it looking for? What's at the bottom of these valleys? In physics, this destination, this little island of stability, it has a very specific name.
It's called an eigenstate. And look, don't let the fancy name throw you. Think of it as just a stable solution. A system isn't out there looking for absolute perfection. It's just settling into the most stable spot it can find nearby, given its own limits. It's a little pocket of certainty in this giant ocean of possibilities.
Now this is where it gets really cool. You can see how this one idea just translates across completely different worlds. In biology, a creature that can survive and reproduce, that's an eigenstate. In your own mind, a clear, coherent thought, that's an eigenstate. And for an AI, a probable, meaningful sentence, yep, that's an eigenstate too. It is the exact same search for stability, just playing out on different stages.
Okay, so we've got the landscape, and we have the destination. But how does any system actually navigate that insane landscape to find a stable eigenstate? Well, the answer is in that three-part toolkit we mentioned. These are the tools for navigation.
Here they are, our 3 puzzle pieces. First, you need a system where order can even appear in the first place. Then, you need a compass to guide you when things get uncertain. And finally, you absolutely need a way to correct your map to make sure it actually matches reality. Let's break them down one by one. The first piece of the puzzle is statistical mechanics. All this really tells us is that big, meaningful things can pop out of the interactions of countless tiny, simple parts. Think about it. Temperature isn't in one molecule. It emerges from all of them moving together. And in an AI, meaning isn't in one single parameter. It emerges from the collective dance of billions of them.
Okay, piece number 2, Bayesian logic. This is the compass. As the system is rolling across that landscape, it's constantly asking itself a simple question. Based on where I am right now and everything I've learned, what's my best guess for the next step towards a stable valley? This is what makes the whole search intelligent, not just some random stumble in the dark. And now for the final piece. This one's a bit more technical, but it's absolutely the secret sauce. It's called reverse KL divergence. Just think of it as the map corrector. While an AI is training, this tool is constantly checking the difference between the AI's internal map of what it thinks is probable and the actual reality of the data it's learning from. And if there's a mismatch, it forces the AI to fix its map, not by trying to cover all the bases, but by zeroing in only on the most realistic, high-probability parts of the landscape. And this slide just nails why that is so important. See, another method, forward KL, it tries to account for everything, and you end up with these blurry, generic results. But reverse KL is mode seeking. It's just like evolution. Evolution doesn't care about preserving every single weird mutation. It relentlessly selects for what actually works. And that's exactly why generative AI can create stuff that is so sharp, so coherent, and so freakishly realistic.
So, let's put these three pieces together, right? We've got this universal landscape, we've got a destination called an eigenstate, and we have this three-part toolkit to get there. When we combine all this, a totally new and powerful way of seeing AI just clicks into place.
And here it is, the first big aha moment. What if AI isn't really something we invented from scratch, but something we just sort of stumbled upon? A new way to tap into a fundamental process of the universe, this constant, relentless search for stable forms in a cosmos of infinite possibilities.
And the parallel here is it's astonishingly direct. The process of training an AI, where it tries to minimize its error or its loss, is basically identical to biological evolution, where natural selection minimizes unfitness and preserves the organisms that work. They are both just processes of finding the lowest, most stable valleys in a huge landscape.
So the really crucial point here is that this understanding doesn't just change how we look at AI, it might just change how we define intelligence itself.
I mean, think about it. If this universal process is happening in biology, in physics, and now in our little silicon chips, then maybe what we've been calling intelligence isn't really about computation at all. Maybe it's something way more fundamental.
This is the big takeaway. Intelligence isn't calculating. It's the ability to navigate a landscape of total uncertainty and find stable ground. Life does it chemically with DNA. Our brains do it electrically with neurons. And AI now does it mathematically with algorithms. The tools are different, but the core principle is universal.
And those destinations, those eigenstates, they're everything. They're like footprints left behind by this incredible process. They mark the exact points where all that chaotic potential collapses into a stable form. It's where a pile of atoms becomes a living thing, where a jumble of neural signals becomes a coherent thought, and where pure probability becomes a meaningful sentence.
Now I know, that's a huge, almost cosmic idea. But what if this whole thing isn't just happening out there in nature or inside some supercomputer? What if it's happening inside of you, right this second?
Let's just end on this thought. This whole framework isn't just for understanding AI, it's for understanding ourselves. Every time you recognize a face in a crowd, choose just the right word, or have a sudden flash of insight, your own mind is performing this ancient trick. You are collapsing a universe of what-ifs into a single, stable reality. You are, in every single moment, finding your own way downhill.